I always hear women talk about how the older they get, the less they get catcalled and hit on. This is definitely my experience as well. I am 20 right now, and I have almost exclusively been hit on by middle-aged men, especially when I was a teenager. Obviously, all men are different and attraction varies, but I am wondering if it is actually extremely common for men to be attracted to women much younger than them, or if society just exaggerates that. I am attracted to older men, so I cannot judge. I am just curious and want to know if it is actually as common as the world makes it out to be. Story 1. Yes, most men are attracted to younger women, just as most women are attracted to men with power or money. The idea of a wealthy older man dating a younger woman is very real. Both parties gain something from that arrangement. Story 2. I wouldn't know how common it is really. My age range seems to have stayed steady at 7 years in either direction as far as attraction is concerned. I experience attraction more as a mental thing than a physical thing. I can see how people are physically attractive, even younger people outside the range I pursue, but I would never go for them. Something about a large age gap is a turnoff. For example, my niece is 19 and dating a guy a year older than me. He has children older than her. Creepy. Legally, she is an adult, but as far as I am concerned, that is some straight-up grooming. Story 3. If it helps you understand the psychology of men better, the guys who are hitting on you want to have sex with you. This is very different from wanting to be in a relationship and the assessments made on that front. To elaborate and to be clear, not all men are like this. When it comes to sex, many men are very primitive. They see a woman, and their brains instantly assess 1, sexually desirable traits, and 2, signs of sexual availability. This is primal behavior. Sexually desirable traits can be anything. Large breasts, large buttocks, small buttocks, feet in bare sandals. Not every guy agrees on the list, but the preferences are varied. However, it is the signs of sexual availability that really confuse men. For our primate ancestors, a female being aroused was very obvious. The vulva becomes engorged. There are mating calls, and it cannot be missed. Human males have never fully adapted to the lack of a clear, visible state of arousal, so their brains sometimes confuse sexually desirable characteristics with being sexually aroused. This is not logical. For example, cleavage, tight red dresses, or miniskirts are often perceived as signs of sexual availability, which is incorrect. This leads to the misguided belief some men have that a woman is asking for it. It is not that women do not display such traits to some degree. The major difference is biological. Men are designed to rapidly respond to perceived sexual desirability and availability, moving from 0 to highly aroused very quickly and frequently throughout the day. For instance, when walking down a busy street, men's eyes often snap quickly to women wearing short skirts. Men often interpret youth as a sexually desirable trait and may mistakenly see normal female characteristics, like having breasts, as a sign of sexual availability. Some men control these impulses, others catcall rudely. Some men simply hit on women because they want to have sex. One of the most frustrating experiences for a woman is trying to know when a man wants something more meaningful. This often leads to stories of being led on. Do not mistake catcalls, leers, and propositions for anything deeper than fleeting interest. Once another woman walks by, the attention quickly shifts. Men also do appreciate genuine beauty, such as a beautiful smile or eyes. However, the immediate sexual judgment happens in an instant, and men who act only on these impulses are thinking with their genitalia rather than their minds. Story 4. Very common. Personally, I only had girlfriends younger than me except for high school. I feel dates with women aged 30 and older are like a job interview. I am very put off by it. I have no interest in auditioning to be their partner. They are probably not attracted to me either, as I am a laid-back guy who does not put much emphasis on money, cars, or material things, which seem to be very important for many of the older women. From what I hear, this is a common experience for other men too. Story 5. All men like young women. It is biology. Generally speaking, women up to a certain age are more likely to bear healthy children. As women age, the risk of complications increases, and eventually menopause occurs, after which they can no longer reproduce. Men generally do not lose their ability to reproduce that early. This is not to say postmenopausal women are worthless, far from it. This discussion focuses only on the biological aspect of why men tend to find younger women attractive. Some men take this preference too far, and that is a completely different discussion. Regarding long-term relationships, compatibility becomes a factor in age gap relationships. I personally do not think I would be compatible with a woman who is more than 10 years older or younger than me. If we are just talking about sex or physical attraction, I would be lying if I said I would turn down a woman who appears to be 25. Story 6. For me, it all changed with age. Up to my late 20s, I preferred older women. As I got older, younger women became more attractive. I realized that youth has a beauty factor. Suddenly, I noticed a number of young women who are very attractive, something I should have recognized in my teens. Story 7. I am 36 years old. I may think you are attractive, but I know you are immature. Other than finding you nice to look at, I have no real interest in you. Story 8. My attraction to women was more about who they were than their age. I am not aiming for anything inappropriate because the above might seem that way. I was married to a terrible woman, and age was not a criterion in my search to find true love. Unlike my previous experience where I was cheated on, I found the love of my life. She is wonderful to me, but also honest when necessary. She makes me very happy, and I hope I make her happy too because I love her and do not want to lose her. Story 9. Men are often physically attracted to younger women. However, the mental connection is what truly matters. A 38-year-old showing interest in a 20-year-old is very different from a 50-year-old showing interest in a 35-year-old. Not only are the age differences relatively distinct, but the stages of life of the second pair are much closer than the first. Every woman I know who married an older man, either right after college or a few years later, divorced him when she reached her 40s because the financial situation was no longer sufficient to maintain the relationship. The men were slowing down, the women were approaching perimenopause, and ultimately all of them ended up with men their own age. Story 10. I am in my mid-40s and attracted to women of various age groups. I generally date casually with no intention of entering a committed relationship. Not because I am opposed to it, but because my lifestyle is not conducive to it. That means I tend to date women in their mid to late 20s and sometimes early 30s who are not ready to settle down yet. Nearly all the women my age that I have dated were very eager to dive headfirst into something serious. Story 11. I'm guessing at least 90% of men would prefer a younger woman. Here's what is important to think about. When I say prefer, that does not mean it is a requirement. We just like to seem a little wiser, smarter, stronger, and so on, which I think is understandable in this world. When I say younger, there are plenty of men who want to date women a full decade younger. Some prefer to be in similar life stages, but just a couple of years older than their partners. We are talking about relationships right now. Almost every man on the planet will agree that fit women in their mid-20s are universally attractive regardless of the man's age. Story 12. Hold up. Despite what everyone here is saying, I disagree. First, it is not linear in the sense that the younger the woman, the more attractive she is. Secondly, I have always been attracted to women around 30, and now that I am older, that age has increased with my own age. I find younger women are not as mature, and we do not share the same interests. Story 13. I am 27, almost 28. As I get older, I am beginning to understand why I like women above the age of 23 or so. Anyone under that age is just very immature and too culturally different. I understand that guys go for the younger crowd because they are pretty, but if you are looking for a partner, I could never date someone that young. I realize I am in the minority. Story 14. Society plays a large part in this too. Look at the relationships in television shows and movies. Almost universally, it is older or less attractive overweight men portrayed with younger, more attractive female partners. It is unclear how prevalent this is in reality, but entertainment certainly emphasizes it as the norm. Story 15. The brain tends to think of the person as much younger than their actual age, and they tend to be attracted to younger individuals as a result. This is true for both men and women. Story 16. It is not common. Most men prefer women who are slightly younger than they are. Most men also do not catcall. There is likely a lot of overlap between the men who like younger women and the men who catcall. Story 17. I am attracted to women my wife's age. As she gets older, that is the age I prefer, or older. Younger women do not attract me at all. I am 35 years old. Story 18. Personally, I still find women my age or even 2 years older attractive. I am 33 years old. However, if I have to choose a younger woman, I will do so as long as she likes me. Story 19. For me personally, I find younger women very attractive. Since I do not get many women interested in me that way, the women I find most attractive are the ones who are interested in me. It is probably why I prefer online dating compared to finding someone in real life, because if a woman likes my profile, then I know she is at least interested. Story 20. Physically, yes, but I would not want to start a relationship with a much younger woman. I am very lucky to have a great wife. Story 21. Honestly, as long as they are in their 20s, I prefer someone around my age. I care more about them as a person. Story 22. Original poster, you have done a wonderful job opening up a very interesting discussion where some men give scientific answers and others provide personal answers. It is actually very funny to watch unfold. Thank you. From a personal perspective as a man, I find myself physically attracted to smoother skin, physical pliability, fitness, and a woman who cares about her appearance. These traits are most common in women under 35. That is not to say it is impossible to find in women over 35. It is just less common. And that is just the physical attraction part. That does not even cover the mental aspect, which is a discussion for another time requiring professional input. Now, back on track. I do not see women in their 30s, 40s, and older and feel repulsed. There are quite a few women who are stunning and come into their looks later in life rather than earlier. However, it is uncommon. Someone mentioned passing on biological traits and higher chances of healthy birth and offspring. That is more or less proven. So, the takeaway: if you are young and want to get married, do so sooner rather than later. You have no idea what state you will be in or how the dating market will be. Right now, your chances are higher of finding a partner than they will be in your 30s. Trust me on this. There are studies that will terrify you. I hope this has been helpful. Story 23, very common. Speaking in general terms, the attributes that men find attractive are most often associated with youth. Low body fat, perky breasts, firm buttocks, good muscle tone, white teeth, supple skin, thick and healthy hair, and so on. Story 24, a little bit of both. It is a stereotype, but like all stereotypes, it is based in truth. I have dated people older than, the same age as, and younger than me, and I am not especially picky about any of them. Story 25. Very common. Men naturally gravitate towards younger women for a few reasons, some of which they may not realize. Younger women are often in the prime of their attractiveness. This does not mean they will become less attractive, but they do change over time. If a man truly loves a woman, regardless of their differences, he will find her more attractive and will not look for a younger replacement. Women are not objects. Procreation, whether he is aware of it or not, his biology may be seeking an attractive partner for reproduction. This does not consider whether he is too old for her. You do not have to share many common interests as many believe. You only need the desire to be around each other. Some may ask, what could they have in common? The answer is simple. He loves her, and she loves him. That is their common ground. Story 26. Men are attracted to women in their prime. Physically, you are never more beautiful than in your 20s. Men get older, but beautiful women stay the same age. We are who we are. Our bodies getting older does not change who we are. In reality, there are things older men find very attractive about older women. However, those things do not necessarily inspire catcalling. Story 27. For me, it is only really because, generally, younger women tend to be in better shape without the effort it takes to maintain it as you get older. I would take an older woman in good shape any day of the week, but a lot of people do not take care of themselves. Story 28. It's more like I don't stop finding younger women attractive just because I got older. I don't necessarily want to date them, but they are definitely still physically attractive, more so generally speaking than women my age. Yes, it is extremely common. What I say to older women when they notice the drop-off in attention is, welcome to being a man basically his whole life. I don't really have any sympathy. Enjoy it while it lasts. Story 29. Yes, it is becoming more common. I like younger girls but have also dated many around my age. In the end, connection is what matters. As someone said, it is almost an unspoken agreement between youth and fun, and maturity and stability. It can work beautifully if done right, the relationship is healthy, and communication is present. Story 30. The answer is yes. The older they get, the worse it is. That's why so many older men get divorced and take on a younger woman. As he gets older and his wife has done the duty of struggling until he makes better money, gets stable, raises the kids, and does all the work it takes to run the household, he starts seeking a younger partner and replaces the older wife. This scenario is not uncommon at all. You may be attracted to older men now because they can buy you things, take you to dinner, and provide stability. Then don't worry, they will start searching for a younger partner as you also get older. Or you start dating one only to find out later he is married. This happens way too often. Men get that big belly and still think they are attractive but expect the wife to look like she is 20 years old after having children. It is very much a double standard that has been happening for years. Story 31. Purely visually speaking, age 21 is considered the peak attraction for men, regardless of age. For an actual romantic relationship, it becomes more complicated. Our lives are very different, her interests versus mine, energy levels, experiences. As a man in my 40s, I find it difficult to imagine a real relationship with someone that age, despite physical attraction. Regarding purely sexual relationships, I would be concerned about being exploitative. Theoretically, may be possible, but in practice, extremely unlikely. Women older than 21 are not unattractive to me, just somewhat less so than when they were 21. 45-year-old Salma Hayek still surpasses almost any woman on the planet for me personally, with her 21-year-old self just slightly more so. However, this is from a purely objective perspective without knowing her as a 21 or 40-year-old. If we built a relationship, loved each other, and shared memories from our younger years, it would be a completely different experience altogether. Story 32. Preferences depend on the region, country, and culture. Saying middle-aged men like young women is a general statement. In what area? What type of man? What type of woman? Also, younger by how much? 5 years, 10, or 20. Some men want a partner for sex, while others want a friend or companion to go through life with. Depending on the goal and person, you will get different results. Story 33. I have dated both younger and older individuals as an adult, so maybe I am the outlier. When I was in my 20s, I had a few summer flings with women in their 40s. Conversely, when I was 31, I was dating a 22-year-old. At 34, a 19-year-old woman pursued me, but it never went anywhere. My ex was only 2 years younger than I am. There is a trend of older men dating younger women, which corresponds with younger women going after older men. I do not care what someone's preferences are as long as it is not twisted in a perverse way, such as grooming from an early age or using power to force another. Story 34. It is common for men to date younger women by only a few years. Older men are likely to be attracted to younger women because of fertility, and they find them appealing due to their youth and beauty. Story 35. I have generally dated women in their 20s. For me, it is because they pursue me. I am not sure if I peaked late in life or something, but in my 40s, I am still catching those 20-somethings and getting rejected by the 30-somethings. Anyway, I do not have insight, just saying it works on both sides of the coin, not just from men to women. Story 36. If we are talking strictly physical, then I believe most men are attracted to younger women. I believe the rationale is that youthfulness is often associated with beauty and purity. Attractiveness, however, is not all about physical appearance. It is a big part, though, and I honestly believe it is more about how a woman carries herself. Story 37. I would say it is quite common for men to date women who are 2 to 4 years younger across all ages. Larger age gaps do occur, but they are less common. Anything more than 5 to 6 years often means different childhood experiences. Story 38. It's basically instincts. Young women, specifically around the 20-year-old group, are the most fertile and healthy to reproduce with. Even if we don't want children, the basic instinctual urge to find the best mate and release your seed in her to keep humans running is nested deep inside all of us. A beautiful girl usually means healthy. For women, older men usually mean more resources and power to protect them and the youth. Even if that's not their goal, that's basically the instinctual desire. If a man lived to see his mid-40s, it also usually meant he was healthy and could produce strong offspring as well. Story 39. I think it is common for men to be intimidated by women who match or surpass them in education, intellect, life experience, wisdom, skills, abilities, income, and more, because it makes them feel less secure and in control of the relationship. They depend on the power imbalance to maintain a form of domestic dominance. Younger women tend to become more dependent on their partner than their older counterparts. They are also less likely to challenge a man's behavior than older women who have encountered it before. Therefore, a man dating someone of similar age or older has to remain accountable, which is often one of the last things he wants to do. Another reason some men prefer younger women is that they have not matured emotionally. Many men remain on the same emotional level as the average 20-year-old, despite being fully grown adults age-wise. They seek out younger women because those women tolerate their refusal to grow up. Story 40. I am 32 years old, and the youngest person I would consider for a relationship is 24. For casual encounters, anyone under 42 is acceptable. Story 41. Yes, you girls are attractive. This is universal, excluding outliers. In general, girls in their 20s are at the peak of their attractiveness and desirability. Sorry if this comes across as creepy. I do not sugarcoat it. Story 42. Younger women are more likely to be highly fertile and have a healthy reproductive system than a woman over 35 years old, whose biological clock is ticking down and whose body has seen better days. Story 43. Men in general are genetically hardwired to feel attracted to visual patterns of fertility in women. These patterns are manifested in physical youthfulness. Studies clearly indicate that men of all ages are primarily attracted to women between the ages of 18 and 25. Exceptions confirm the rule. Although this is often frowned upon in modern society, the data shows that men even prefer teenagers over women over the age of 30, although most men do not openly admit this due to social standards. Story 44. I think that's the real question because ultimately it's young women choosing who they want to be with, rather than men simply getting whatever they prefer. It seems that a noticeable portion of young adult women are picking men who are older than them. Your own preference indicates that. Now imagine your peers seeing you and other women your age prefer older men. Wouldn't it make sense if some of them accept that this is what you want and therefore position themselves to be attractive to women in that age range when they become as old as the men you are now dating? To say it differently, you are providing a route for guys your current age on how to attract women your age by becoming more attractive and older. So the success story of these older men that you show men your age is what some will try to copy. Generally speaking, when men were asked in surveys with pictures of women without further details to rate the attractiveness of women, a large portion, though not the majority across age groups, picked images of women in their 20s. I think the results of one such study were presented at a TED Talk. Evolution is not a straitjacket, but it still is a major influence on how we think and behave. Youthfulness, from an evolutionary perspective, is preferable. That does not mean just because someone is considered most attractive at a certain age that all other demographics are therefore shunned. Additionally, these surveys simply asked for attractiveness, not for who the men would actually be in a relationship with. One is probably a sexual preference question while the other involves broader qualities. So the results of that alone are quite misleading if interpreted incorrectly. Story 45. Creepy men who have no morals tend to be the most vocal. It is not that most men want to sleep with teenagers. However, do men in general prefer younger women? Yes. Fortunately, most women prefer older men, so it balances out. Story 46. I don't think men are physically attracted to women who are much younger than them. I think men are physically attracted to women who are in their prime childbearing years, and that it is biological, not something men are consciously being creepy about. Anyone, including women, is absolutely creepy if they voice or act on that attraction when it is toward someone who is underage. Men and women both have their prime years, which are when they are most attractive to the opposite sex. For instance, a 30-year-old woman will likely not be attracted to a 75-year-old man. You cannot help who you are attracted to, but you can control how you act on it. Story 47. I love women in general, except bitter, annoying, and controlling angry females. I also dislike those traits in men. Sadly, many females experience hormone issues as they age, which is not their fault, and possibly enter and exit toxic relationships. From those experiences, many become jaded and unpleasant, which may also not be their fault. A younger woman is usually happier overall, and the obvious physical attributes are clear. I honestly prefer an intellectual, more mature woman to talk to and spend time with. It is hard to hate on a 25 to 30-year-old in a bikini, though. Story 48. Generally speaking, yes, men are attracted to youth. It's in our genetics. Younger women are more fertile than older women. But you are still young and very attractive. Just focus on being a good person and maintaining your youth and body, and you will find someone, I promise. Age is not the deal breaker for most men. It comes down to compatibility and personality more than anything. Story 49. Very common. When I was in my early 20s, I did not want to date women older than me for a couple of main reasons. To be honest, mothers I'd like to friend exist and can be fun. My wife ended up being almost 5 years younger than me. That age gap was perfect for me because I did not want children right away. Story 50. Men are programmed to like younger women. How? Well, let's see. A young man is inundated by women aged 14 to 16, dressed as if they are 21. They seem to get younger and younger. When I was younger, I remember a model being 14 years old on a magazine cover. These moments stay in a young boy's mind and are wired into our memories. As we grow older, those images remain with us. So, yes, we are attracted to the women we were attracted to in our younger years. Story 51. Most men can have children regardless of age, but the main variable is their ability to provide. On average, men become financially stable between 28 and 34 years old, which is when they typically start looking for a wife. The challenging part of nature is that a woman aged 28 to 34 faces different fertility considerations, especially if she has had an abortion or has been a lifelong birth control user. Women of this age are not always ideal candidates for starting a family, which often explains the age gap. Studies also show that men tend to have a larger age gap with partners in second marriages, especially after a divorce. The second marriage is usually when this increase in the age gap is most noticeable. Story 52. Super common and ingrained in our animal brains to be this way. If you are simply talking about physical attraction, which is primarily what most men are drawn to, women are at their peak physical attraction when they are younger. After about 25 to 30 years old, most women decline from there. This is generally true for most women, though not universally. Some ethnicities are fortunate enough to push that boundary. For example, East Asians can probably extend it to 35 to 40, or even 45 if they are genetically gifted. If you are talking about actually wanting to enter a long-term committed relationship, that will vary from man to man. Story 53. Men generally prefer women when they are most attractive. Younger women are almost always more attractive than older women. While some men may not be able to be with younger women, all else being equal, nearly every man would prefer a younger woman. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.